Welcome to the SVG-TV News for Friday, March 27th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. Pushing the need for policies and for them to be implemented effectively was one of the areas looked at by agriculture ministers from across the OECS at the first council meeting held here earlier today at the NIS conference room. Sharon Garraway attended the opening ceremony and files this report.
Musical interlude, agricultural ministers from the OECS were also summoned to be the vanguards of effective policies to enhance the agricultural sector. The gathering of OECS agricultural ministers and other officials heard from Permanent Secretary Raymond Ryan, who noted that agriculture is not a unit unto itself, but is an essential component that trickles down to other sectors. He emphasized that for agriculture in the OECS to be truly progressive, it must become brand-worthy.
And opportunities for niche marketing, branding, and quality-based product differentiation. These factors are seen as complementary to efforts to promote improved productivity and enhance competitiveness.
Director General of the OECS, Dr. Didicus Jules, highlighted that an action plan to make agriculture in the OECS more vibrant has been developed and will look to reduce poverty and reduce the high import food bill.
What are the pathways to this revitalization? The number one target simply has to be the OECS region's large and growing food import bill, which in 2011 stood at $473 million US, having doubled in 10 years, and accounting for almost 20% of total imports of goods into the OECS.
Dr. Jules also pointed out that the OECS is moving from a 6% to a 16% increase in the GDP over the next 10 years.
That is the only way OECS agriculture can take the quantum leap that will move the growth needle from a 6% contribution to GDP on average now to a 16% contribution to GDP in 10 years. Given the current dismal performance of the sector, this is a challenge to which the OECS agriculture must rise if the regional economy as a whole is to achieve the target growth rates of 4 to 6% that have been set by the OECS Commission and the East Caribbean Central Bank.
Minister of Agriculture, Sorota Caesar, says it's time to reactivate the Treaty of Basseterre. The Agriculture Minister also highlighted the need to get the technical matters executed.
We continue to keep our focus on linking production and productivity with technical work in each ministry. If we are to see results from what we are here to discuss, our technicians in each ministry must be on the cutting edge. You could have the best treaty. If the technicians are not on the cutting edge, we will not see the results in a timely manner.
As the agricultural ministers of the OECS gather here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it is hoped that they can come up with further solutions to help to counteract the high import food bill and to look at ways to counteract the diseases caused in the health sector because of improper eating. We're also looking to push forward bills and policies that will help to develop the sector of the agriculture here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Reporting for SVG Television News, I am Sharon Garraway.
Meanwhile, a call was made to the agriculture ministers to seek to counteract the issues that are affecting development across the OECS. The appeal comes from the OECS Director General, Dr. Didicus Jules, who said that the Caribbean has an incredible food import bill, which is damaging other sectors of the region's development. Dr. Jules highlighted the false sense of modernization, where advancement means processed foods, has been damaging areas such as the economy, health, and tourism sectors. He said this misconstrued way of thinking needs to be addressed if real changes are to occur.
That we have come to internalize and believe that increasing importation of foreign goods signals modernization. So Crispies and cornflakes at the breakfast table, which was formerly laden with arrowroot and banana bread, is seen as modernizing progress. today, countries are waking up to the reality that the world is facing a multifaceted food crisis in which imported processed food has created unacceptable levels of dependence, exacerbated a health and nutrition crisis, and has denuded rural communities of jobs and dignity.
Meanwhile, Agriculture Minister Saboto Caesar also called for a more proactive approach to advancing agriculture in the OECS. Caesar pointed out that ministers must remember that they are representing those in a practical field and must push effective policies to get genuine transformation.
However, it is very important that we take away from this meeting that we must have a very constant focus on the issue now of governance. Sometimes we get bogged down with the jurisprudence in the treaty and we fail to operationalize the various sections in the treaty for the benefit of the citizenry of the sub-region. And I want us to take very careful note of that.
The opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, is calling for the resignation of communications consultant in the Prime Minister's office, Elson Crick. The NDP is accusing Crick of slandering one of its female speakers at Monday's women's consultation by revealing on radio private details of her life, including her former and current legal names, immigration history and dates of travel, and passport number. The NDP states that it considers the action of Crick as a grave interference with the woman's privacy and a gross breach of that right which is conferred on every citizen under Article 12 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. In the statement signed by leader of the party, Arnim Eustace, it was pointed out that the woman, who identified herself as just Kate, who suffered years of domestic violence and sexual abuse, was simply telling her story to the world and did not speak in a political capacity, neither did she say anything which could be construed as political. According to the NDP, it doesn't matter the capacity in which Crick was acting when he made his statements, whether as the communications consultant to the Prime Minister or as host of the ruling Unity Labour Party's radio program. He must be removed from public office and the radio program with immediate effect and publicly condemn his actions. The NDP is also calling for a thorough investigation into how Crick was able to acquire Kate's immigration details and history. The party says anyone who breached her rights and compromised her privacy and security must be held to account. Earlier today, the SVG Dialysis Association Incorporated hosted a public awareness and fundraising event at the Postal Corporation building in Kingstown. The funds raised will go towards assisting chronic kidney patients here. Nephrologist Dr. Twana Brown-Caesar says that when speaking about reducing the cases of non-communicable diseases, kidney disease is usually on the back burner, and this is something which they are seeking to address.
Everybody has been talking about the non-communicable diseases, that's the heart disease, the lung diseases, but kidney disease has not been mentioned as one of the non-communicable diseases that they hope to get the incidence or the prevalence of this disease under control. However, when you look at the list of diseases, including diabetes and the epidemic of diabetes, that is also the principal risk factor for kidney disease. Similarly, cardiovascular disease as well as diseases of the pulmonary system or the lungs can also sometimes lead to kidney disease. So when they exclude chronic kidney disease from the non-communicable diseases, it's really a disservice to chronic kidney disease and it does not get the attention that it truly deserves.
Brown-Caesar pointed out that most persons suffering from kidney problems are not aware of the severity of the disease until it has progressed into the final stages.
The big deal is a lot of patients with kidney disease, they are not aware that they have kidney disease until they have reached quite an advanced stage. What we aim to do is to identify the common risk factors of kidney disease, diabetes mellitus, which is prevalent, and we actually have increasing prevalence of disease, or the incidence of disease is actually increasing. That's one of the big risk factors, and patients who end up with end-stage kidney disease, diabetes is one of the chief chief contributing factors for that. Not only do we want to identify these persons other than the diabetics, but patients also with hypertension, patients greater than 60 years of age, patients who have a family history of kidney disease. These persons are all at risk for having chronic kidney disease. These are persons that I advise, if you have any of these chronic illnesses, then you should get checked.
She also advises all Vincentians to get medical checkups in order to catch the disease in the early stages or to find out how to prevent kidney failure.
A urine test is a fairly cheap way of checking to see if you're spilling proteins in your urine. That's one way that you could find out if you have kidney disease or not. The other way is to do a blood test. Some people argue that it's not cost effective for patients with chronic kidney disease or the general population to be screened with blood tests, and I agree. But a urine test is a simple enough test, and it's a cheap enough test that could give us some idea and some look into the function of the kidneys and whether or not it is abnormal.
Dr. Brown-Caesar also says the cost for caring for persons with chronic kidney diseases increases by 10 times when compared to getting a regular checkup. She's urging Vincentians to be supportive of all kidney patients, even if it means donating just a few dollars or just giving an encouraging word.
A monthly basis, when patients end up being on dialysis or what we call renal replacement therapy, whether that occurs in the form of blood dialysis, which is the hemodialysis, which is the more popular one worldwide, or peritoneal dialysis, that's the type where you put a tube in the stomach and you exchange fluid. Both of them are equally as efficient in replacing the function of kidney disease in patients who are appropriately selected for that type of treatment. When we reach this stage where the patients need dialysis, you're talking about an increase in cost of sometimes up to 10 times what it would cost a normal patient just to get routine checks, whether it's just for hypertension.
SVG-TV interviewed 3 kidney patients who were at the event, and they shared how being diagnosed with the disease has changed their lives.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, friends just can't be found, like a bridge over troubled water.
Diagnosed in 2010.
And what was that experience like for you?
It took me down a bit, but then the people talked to me and so on, I got the courage to face it.
I've been on dialysis since 2013, since April 2013, so April 2015 will be 2 years since I'm on dialysis.
How has this disease changed you?
It has changed my life drastically. It has brought me further and closer to the Lord, trusting Him more and allowing Him to use me as an example to testify of His goodness and His mercies.
Well, I have been on dialysis since 2010, so almost 5 years. July would make 5 years. Kidney failure has changed my life totally. I was in college when I got kidney failure, and I was studying accounting because I wanted to become an accountant, and I had to cut my studies short. So I would say if I did not have kidney failure, I would be studying overseas or furthering my career.
I have gotten a lot of encouragement for the 5 years I've been on dialysis. A lot of people from my community and teaching fraternity. I am a teacher also, right? They have helped me and the other persons, and I hope that they will continue encouraging us.
Well, the citizens of St. Vincent and, abroad, the Caribbean, internationally, they have given me a lot of support. Without them, I don't know exactly where I would be right now.
Diana said she's got a lot of support, same on my end. I thank for the persons who have assisted me. It has been a great help of encouragement, and they're helping, and I'm thanking those who have and who are willing to help in the future. Yes, I will encourage everyone in St. Vincent and abroad to support SVG Dialysis Inc.
Over 400 inmates make up this country's prison population. More on this and other stories on the local scene when the SVG-TV news continues. Welcome back. This country's jail population now stands at 408 inmates. This was disclosed by Superintendent of Prisons Brendan Charles during a ceremony to mark the closing of the criminal assizes. According to a recently published list, there are 130 males and 1 female sentenced by the High Court, and 183 males and 1 female sentenced by the Magistrates Court. There are 50 non-nationals serving sentences, 1 awaiting trial, and 1 awaiting preliminary investigation. Patrick Lovelace is the lone inmate on death row. Meanwhile, earlier today, 3 Guyanese nationals appeared before the Serious Offences Court charged with several counts of using false instruments. They are Marcel Ann Rowland, Sydney Rawl Rowland, and Cindy Zenobia Williams. When the trio appeared in court, they were not allowed to plead to the indictable charges. They were all remanded into custody until April 1st for a date to be set for the preliminary inquiry. Reports are that between 1998 and March 2015, the accused persons used birth certificates, identification cards, driver's licenses, and passports with a view of inducing the Supervisor of Elections, the Chief Immigration Officer, and the Comptroller of Inland Revenue to accept the documents as genuine, which they all knew to be false. There were some questions raised last night about the ways in which black women treat their hair today. This was at a lecture hosted by the University of the West Indies Open Campus under the theme, The Recolonization of the Black Woman, Hear Me Now. The event's main speaker, Conroy Nkuru Dyer, says the topic was selected out of his concern for the way black women are now caring for their hair in what he describes as a very unnatural and extremely harmful way. Dyer further explains that concerns are now being raised as to whether there is a rejection of the Afrocentric culture by black women.
It seemed to be as if it was a clear rejection of what it means to be black and that Afrocentrism, and it's as if by the way they treat it, it seems like our black women lack self-confidence, self-pride, and I was actually reading an article which says that they were making a point that the black woman has actually forgotten how to care for hair of that type. That's kind of ironical because that's our hair, we should know how to take care of it.
Dyer says the way women today treat their hair is much too important a matter for it to be swept under the rug, since it goes beyond a physical issue to one that is even psychological.
How is it possible that millions of black women do not know how to care for their hair? And why do so many feel that they have to hide their natural hair? The lady who's writing his name is Ruth. Ruth believes that women in large see no option but to alter the hair because of the images that they have been bombarded with, the propaganda that would tell you, black women hair is not good. And most of the black women, she says, the images that they try to go for are women whose hair is very long, silky, flowing, mostly blonde. In the media, many of the black women who are glorified for their beauty tend to be women who have long, wavy hair. She asked the question, when was the last time short, curly, kinky hair was celebrated or promoted as equally as beautiful.
Meanwhile, Dyer says while natural black hair continues to be under serious attack, women must also look at the messages they usually send, particularly to little black girls, by the way they treat their hair.
What are you saying to your society? What are you saying to your people, your forefathers? What are you saying to the little black girl who has not gotten to the age where she goes through this ritual where her hair is changed process? What are you saying to her? Are you saying that her hair is inferior? Are you saying that, oh, it's good up until 13 and yeah, but once you get to that age, then you have to do something with your hair? That's a serious thing.
As rehabilitation works continue on the Caratal Bridge in Georgetown, the traveling public is being advised that there will be some diversions to the traffic in that area. According to the Ministry of Transport and Works, to facilitate the work being carried out by Bailey contractors, the section between Regent Street and the Caratal Bridge will be closed to vehicular traffic from this coming Tuesday, March 31st, for a 3-month period. Motorists traveling from Kingstown should turn left onto Cambridge Street, then onto Queen Street, and continue onto the bypass road leading to the Windward Highway. Vehicles traveling into Kingstown will turn right at the Russell's residence onto the existing bypass road towards Queen Street, turning left at the Caesars residence onto Regent Street, then exiting onto the Windward Highway. Motorists that are traveling from Queen Street are asked to give way to traffic on the right at the junction of the Caesars residence. The Caratal Bridge work is being funded by the government through the Bank of SVG. The project, which started in January, will be done in 2 phases at a cost of over $2 million EC.